Okay, and just like magic, we're into the gardening segment. So this is Gardening with Joel video. It is still the 25th of October. It is Wednesday. Let's get into the gardening update and what has been going on here in Illinois. Well, you can tell it is mild. It is probably 68 degrees right now because it is cooling down. It's getting to be nighttime. But I thought I would bring you into the garden. And these are my neighbor's fire bushes, so you can see how lovely they are. They're beautiful. The garden is officially done for the season. What I'm going to wait for is for the garden to freeze, which should happen probably Sunday night. We're supposed to be forecasted as a low of 29. So all of this will die. I did pick all of the cabbages today, and unfortunately, all of my cabbages were so small that I threw them all out. They're not even usable. They're about that big, so they were unusable. My tomatoes are predominantly dead. I don't have any tomatoes to pick. There's a few green ones here and there, and this one actually has buds, but once it freezes, that will kill them. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to let the wildlife have the tomatoes. Now, these boxes that you see here, I've decided those are not coming into my house because I don't need the bugs. I might be bringing a spearmint in, and I'm going to see which spearmint plant looks the best. And probably this one because he's got some new growth underneath. So I'm going to bring one of the spearmint plants in to the house. I'm going to move him up here. And spearmint is really great to keep in the house because pests don't like it. So if you have a spearmint plant or a mint plant, chances are that would be a good thing to bring into the house. And I'm sorry you guys are at an angle. I'm pulling out these leaves out of these. But pests and especially like bugs do not like the scent of mint plants. So I'm going to bring one of these into the house tonight or even tomorrow. I'm going to probably, watch out, Lacey. Probably going to bring this one in because this one is actually the better of the two. Sorry, and I'm bouncing you guys. So, I'm also going to flip you guys around so you guys can see. I have a cup full of basil, and there is water in that cup. And I'm just going to keep that natural. I came and picked all of my basil off the plant so that the basil actually will be able to die come the first frost, because the first frost will actually kill everything in the garden. So if you haven't done it yet, you definitely need to bring in your plants. Now, if you live in a state that is not in the southern region, so Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, those you should be fine with. Just monitor your weather. Those usually don't freeze until much later in the season. But now that our northern states like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and I believe Minnesota, I have one viewer I believe that lives in Minnesota. I can't remember if she said she was Wisconsin or Minnesota, but I believe she's Minnesota. She has said it has already frozen there, so her garden is already done for the year. Illinois is about to get its first freeze. I'm just wiping all the dirt off. And that's one thing you do want to do if you bring an outdoor plant in that's been sitting in the garden is just get the dirt off. And it helps to put a little, even though the pot, and I'm going to bring you guys down, even though this does have a base and you can't really see it, I have it on a plate. It's always good to do that And this is going to be a little bit awkward because it's been a long time since I carried two things at once. But I'm going to bring this in to my living room, if I don't step on a dog, and I'm going to shove him in here. And I'm going to kind of turn you guys around and put you on the cocktail table. Hopefully I don't drop you. So I have my... I'm going to flip you guys around. This is my rosemary and lavender. And I have a big bay window. Now, this bay window faces south. This is a south-facing window. And if I go here, and hopefully you won't see my dog peeing on my floor because that's what she's looking for. That's my dining room, and that's a north-facing window. Unfortunately, in my house, except for the master bedroom, that's the only window that faces west. All of my other windows face either north or south. So, the southern facing... I'm going to bring you guys up so you can actually see me. And I'm sorry we're a little bit close because, you know, things are a little bit tight in the living room. Okay, there we go. The southern facing windows get sunlight. It's a little bit weaker in the winter time. The north facing windows do get a lot of sunlight, but the dining room is not one of those that gets a lot of light. The kitchen is where I would get the most light, and unfortunately, because I've got the coffee makers and the setup there, I can't put a lot of plants there. You could hang them, theoretically, if you have an area that you can hang plants that don't get in your way, especially if they're in the kitchen and you only have a north-facing window, then do that. Now, you'll see, as I was talking about, and I'm going to bring you guys down again so you guys can see this. This is my rosemary, and my lavender plant is, I'm touching it, it's a little bit smaller, is right here. Then next to it, I do have an orchid, which I actually need to slide some of these down just a little bit. And I am going to have to replant some of these so that they're not crowded. You don't want to crowd your plants if you can help it. If you start crowding too much of your plants, they're not going to like it. So I'm going to pull you guys down now. Okay, so my orchid is right here. Then I've got the spearmint plant. Next to it is the parsley, and I'm going to bring you guys in so you can see, in fact, that this is the parsley that is making the comeback. And then I've got my other rosemary plant. And then I have what they call a Christmas cactus over here that is doing really well. He's getting really big. And then at the very top, I have a spider plant that is hanging on for dear life. And the reason he's hanging on for dear life is I sometimes forget to water him. Which brings me to the next thing. When do you want to water your plants? Well, all of my plants have been watered. I have done that. Now, ideally, you want to water them at least once a week. But if they're in an area that gets more drier air or are by heaters, you want to water them a little bit more frequently, and maybe every fourth day. You want to just check and make sure that they're not too dry, and you want to do them with water. Now, when I water, if you don't have a watering can, the next best thing is if you have people that drink milk and you're one of those that buys gallon tubs of milk, once the milk is finished and you've used it, don't throw the plastic thing out, because you can actually fill that with water, and that is what you can use to water all of your plants. And that's what I do. I do lukewarm water from my tap. And the reason you want to do lukewarm water versus ice-cold water is ice-cold water will actually shock a plant. Especially since now they're inside. They're going to be shocked from the climate change because now they're getting used to being indoors instead of outdoors. So, why would you shock them a second time by giving them ice-cold water? Give them nice lukewarm water. Now, you want to be able to run your hand underneath the faucet. It should be warm, not hot. You don't want to burn your roots of your plants. So make sure the water is lukewarm or room temperature and not steaming hot. Now, if you have basil like this, and it will last in a cup for many, many days. The trick, though, for that is you need to change its water every single day. Dump it out, give it fresh water. If you don't, what happens is your plant will actually start to decay, and then you're not going to be able to use it, and you're just going to end up wasting all of that good basil. Now, you could also dry your basil. If you have fresh basil, you can hang it up. If you have an area of your house that you can hang stuff, you can hang it and actually dry it. You need to be careful with basil, though, because when basil gets dry, it drops its leaves. So if you're planning on using the dry basil, you need to do it in an area where you can keep the leaves where they don't drop onto the ground and you step on them and sweep them up. So you can do that. Which brings me to another phase of my garden that you guys will remember. And that is this thing right here. This was my sage. And I actually do need sage for making dressing or stuffing later on. So I'm just going to let him naturally dry out right here. Now, you can use fresh sage, and the same trick if you do, as you do with the basil, you can do with the sage. You can just put it in a cup of water and just change it every day, and it should stay fresh for quite a while. But I want dried sage, and since I'm not hosting Thanksgiving this year, I don't know why I'm saving it, because I'm not doing a dressing, but I may do a dressing for the Christmas holiday, depending on what I make. So, this is going to conclude the gardening updates weekly from here until the next growing season, which will be probably sometime mid-May. I'll start doing regular updates with the gardening segments. We will be doing maybe a bi-weekly gardening segment of the indoor plants and seeing how our indoor plants are doing. Now again, what do you want to do when the weather warms up? If the weather is going to be warm and nice and sunny and it's not going to get near freezing, you can always bring your plants outdoors during the daytime. In the winter here in Illinois, it's harder to do that because we do get snow and it does get cold, so you don't want to do that in the winter time. But if you live in a region that your temperatures don't really get down below 40 degrees, you can leave your plants out all year round if you want. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me for the Gardening with Joel updates. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more great videos, and I will see you in a few weeks to talk about how the indoor plants are doing. So I'll see you on the next Gardening with Joel video.